Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Connector is in my bag. Bag is there. Connector is there. Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, second chapter. I was told to discuss on verse 36 and 37. So we'll discuss the verse 37. Sorry, we'll recite the verse 37 and then we'll read both the verses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. पिबन्ति ये भगवतात्मनः सताम् कथामृतं श्रवणपुटेषु संभृतम् पुनन्ति ते विषयविदूषिताशयम् व्रजन्ति तच्चरणसरोरुहान्तिकम् पिबन्ति ये भगवतात्मनः सताम् कथामृतं श्रवणपुटेषु संवृतम् पुनन्ति ते विषयविदूषिताशयम् व्रजन्ति तच्चरणसरोरुहान्तिकम् पिबन्ति ये भगवतात्मनः सताम् कथामृतं श्रवणपुटेषु संवृतम् पुनन्ति ते विषयविदूषिताशयम् व्रजन्ति तच्चरणसरोरुहान्तिकम् पिबन्ति ये भगवतात्मनः सताम् कथामृतं श्रवणपुटेषु संवृतम् पिबन्ति ते विषयविदूषिताशयम् व्रजन्ति तच्चरणसरोरुहान्तिकम् पिबन्ति ये भगवतात्मनः सताम् कथामृतं श्रवणपुटेषु संवृतम् पिबन्ति ते विषयविदूषिताशयाः व्रजन्ति तच्चरणसरोरुहान्तिकम् पिबन्ति ये भगवतात्मनः सताम् कथामृतं श्रवणपुटेषु संवृतम् पुनन्ति ते विषयविदूषिताशयम् व्रजन्ति तच्चरणसरोरुहान्तिकम्. Word to word meaning. Pibanti, who drink, ye, those, Bhagavataha, of the personality of Godhead, Atmanaha, of the most dear, Satam, of devotees, Kathamritam, the nectar of the messages, Shravana Puteshu, within the ear holes, Sambhritam, fully filled, Punanti, purify, Te, there, Vishaya, material enjoyment, Vidushita Ashayam, polluted aim of life, Vrajanti, do go back, Tat, the Lord's, Charana Saroruha, lotus feet, Vrajanti, Antikam, near. Translation and purport by Sri Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki. Those who drink through oral reception, fully filled with the nectarian message of Lord Krishna, the beloved of the devotees, purify the polluted aim of life, known as material enjoyment, and thus go back to Godhead, to the lotus feet of Him, the personality of Godhead. Purport. The sufferings of human society are due to a polluted aim of life, namely lording it over the material resources. The more human society engages in the exploitation of undeveloped material resources for sense gratification, the more it will be entrapped by the illusory material energy of the Lord. And thus the distress of the world will be intensified instead of diminished. The human necessities of life are fully supplied by the Lord in the shape of food grains, milk, fruit, wood, stone, sugar, silk, jewels, cotton, salt, water, vegetables, etc. in sufficient quantity to feed and care for the human race of the world, as well as the living beings on each and every planet within the universe. The supply source is complete, and only a little energy by the human being is required to get his necessities into the proper channel. There is no need of machines and tools or huge steel plants for artificially creating comforts of life. Life is never made comfortable by artificial needs, but by plain living and high thinking. The highest perfectional thinking for human society is suggested here by Sukadeva Goswami, namely sufficiently hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. For men in this age of Kali, when they have lost the perfect vision of life, this Srimad Bhagavatam is the torchlight by which to see the real path. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada has commented on the Kathamritam mentioned in this verse and has indicated Srimad Bhagavatam to be the nectarian message of the personality of Godhead. By sufficient hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, the polluted aim of life, namely lording it over matter, will subside. And the people in general in all parts of the world will be able to live a peaceful life of knowledge and bliss. For a pure devotee of the Lord, any topics in relation with his name, fame, qualities, entourage, etc. are all pleasing, and because such topics have been approved by great devotees like Narada, Hanuman, Nanda Maharaj and other inhabitants of Vrindavan, certainly such messages are transcendental and pleasing to the heart and soul. And by the constant hearing of the messages of the Bhagavad Gita and later of Srimad Bhagavatam, one is assured herein by Srila Sukadeva Goswami that he will reach the personality of Godhead and render him transcendental loving service in the spiritual planet of the name Goloka Vrindavan, which resembles a huge lotus flower. Thus, by the process of Bhakti Yoga directly accepted as suggested in this verse, by sufficient hearing of the transcendental message of the Lord, the material contamination is directly eliminated without once attempting to contemplate the impersonal Virata conception of the Lord. And by practicing Bhakti Yoga, if the performer is not purified from the material contamination, he must be a pseudo devotee. For such an impostor, there is no remedy for being freed from material entanglement. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatan Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So here all senior devotees are here. Bhaktivinoda Prabhu, Kishore Kripasindhu Prabhu and many brahmacharis have come from Pune also. So I am just like a kid in front of them, but I am told to speak on this verse, and I believe that with the instruction comes empowerment. So please pray for me that something valuable comes, and it's only for my purification. Thank you. Here we can see in the 36th verse, again they are both one and the same, almost they speak of the same subject matter about hearing. In 36th verse it's told that, O King, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, always and everywhere. So you can see Maharaj Parikshit is asking question, what is the essence that essential activity that every human being has to do. So, and then Sukadeva Goswami is answering different answers, and this is one of them, and is telling that by always hearing, glorifying and remembering Krishna, that we can actually always be in connection with Krishna. So yoga means to reconnect with the Lord, or even religion means to connect with, always keep in connection with the Supreme Lord. So Supreme Lord in this age appears in the form of sound vibration, so which helps us to actually remember the Krishna, Supreme Lord. So you can see all the 8 processes of devotional service, all other 8, there are total 9 processes: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. So all other 8 processes, they actually are dependent on submissively hearing about the Supreme Lord. So for example, hearing Parikshit Maharaj, he perfected his life simply by hearing, so that's direct hearing. And Shukadeva Goswami perfected his life by chanting, the speaking about Lord, the Srimad Bhagavatam. But we should know that first he actually heard very submissively with surrender from his father, that is Vyasadeva. And Prahlad Maharaj was able to remember always, and how he was able to remember? Always he was able to remember Narasimhadev. So in or Lord Hari, whatever situation he was in, be it he was put under the pit or poison, he was put under the leg of elephants and then pit of snakes and so many things, but always he was always remembering Supreme Lord. So again that root, the source goes where? He heard from his guru Narad Muni, and when he was in the womb, he was submissively and he heard the instructions of Narad Muni about the absolute truth. So in each and every one of them, if you go on seeing, you can actually see that first everybody, they heard submissively from proper authorities, and that's how they were able to remember Krishna always. So in that way, we can see that Harinam Mahamantra, Lord has come in the form of holy name. So it's, be it hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam or hearing the holy name, it's one and the same. So Krishna and his holy name are not different. So here it's told that only means of deliverance for this age is the Harinama Mahamantra. So, but it should be heard from a bona fide person who comes in the disciple succession. So, Sanatana Goswami tells, Avaishnava Mukhodgirnath Bhutam Hari Kathamritam Shravanam Naiva Kartavyam Sarpochishtam Yathapayah. So, milk itself, if you take, it is very nourishing substance, nutritious. So, but if it is touched by the lips of a snake, then it is poison. So, when it is poison, then if we drink, what happens? Then it will kill us. So, same way, the holy name itself is good, the Srimad Bhagavatam itself is good, but when it is heard from the improper resource, so what comes with that, what is added with that, that actually poisons our consciousness. Basically, the consciousness of pure devotional service, that eternal servitude to Krishna, that gets poisoned. And here in the purport of 36th verse, Prabhupada says about how Vedavyas has written all these Vedic literatures, so many Puranas, etc., just only for the purpose of hearing, only so that we can hear and get purified. So we can see even the incarnation of Krishna himself. So when Krishna comes, all the demigods, they go and pray along with Brahma, and then Krishna tells, I will appear. Then he appears. So Kamsa, actually he represents the fear of material nature. So the Maricha is considered to be the mind, and all the 6 sons of Maricha, they are considered to be the sons of mind, that is the 6 anarthas. And Devaki is compared to Bhakti or the womb. So in order for Krishna to appear in our Bhakti, in our practice of devotional service, actually we need to cleanse all these 6 anarthas within our heart. So how we can do that? The way we do is, the Devaki was initially very fearful of Kamsa. So in that way we have to be very fearful of material nature. So that will give us impetus to avoid material sense gratification. So that is one of the reasons we have to actually submissively hear this message of Srimad Bhagavatam. When we hear that, we actually revive that fear of material nature, and that fear will actually make us fearless. How? So we are fearful of material nature, and that way we take shelter of Krishna. So when we take shelter of Lord, then we become actually fearless. That fear is basically about the dangers, or as far as the body is concerned, all those fears are gone, but we are fearless spiritually. So just a practical experience. Recently I was going to my brother's home. So we went, and while coming back, we were coming in metro. Me and Abhishek Prabhu were there. I think he's not there. So I was really worried that, so in Bangalore nowadays, so many Matajis wear so many different kinds of dresses. So my conscience should not go diverted. So I asked, Abhishek Prabhu was hearing something. I asked what he's hearing. He told, Prabhu, you share something. You might have heard so many things. Then I just started sharing, and somehow non-stop it went on. I spoke, and till the time we reached back to temple, I was just speaking. And I was wondering, because I never speak so much. Even like with all devotees, I have complained that you don't speak. So I was wondering how I could speak. That was only because of fear of material nature, fear of Maya. So in that way, that fear is good. So actually, I was thinking after coming back that, am I performing devotional service on proper platform? Because in Spurti camp we hear that, right? Fear, desire, and then duty, and the platform of love. So I was just confused. So is it a proper platform, or I should rise to different level? But this fear is actually perfect. When I heard from His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he was telling that yes, this fear should be there, because this fear will make us take shelter of Krishna, and actually we will become fearless. So that way, there are 2 things, Visha and Vishaya. So that Visha is actually can take us one's life once only, but the Vishaya, the material sense object, can take our life life after life. So we should be fearful of Vishaya, and the fear of Vishaya is not so much. We should be more fearful of Vishaya than Vishaya. So in that way, if we give into these temptations, then that will spoil the environment of our heart, and then Krishna will not want to enter in our heart. So in that way, we should be fearful to giving into temptations. Jagannath Baldev Subhadramaya ki jai, Gaur Nita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Maharaj was explaining one of all these temptations that come on our way. One is lust, to look at or think about all opposite sex for material enjoyment. So this actually is, again, should be fearful about it, because we lose the mercy of Krishna. Like, for example, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Jagadanand Pandit that you don't even think such things in the dream. And even the incident of Chota Haridas, it actually happened. So after that incident, that so many of the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all were Paramahamsas, but they were extremely fearful even to think of such things even in the dreams. So it's basically complete like fire. So fire is, you should be respectful of fire, at the same time maintain distance, keep distance. So if not, you'll get burnt, or worse is, we'll get melted. So in that way, that is one thing. And if we are not fearful of anger, then it's natural that we become angry. So we should know the consequence of what all will happen if we become angry. We may take things and throw on somebody, we may commit offenses, we may say something which is hurting to somebody, piercing to their heart. So, but even whatever we say is actually written down by Maharaj. So it's told he is tapping our life. So you might have heard about tapping of mobile, right? That they take all the data from mobiles or laptop or whatever, bank account, all the details. Like that, Yamaraj is always tapping our life. He knows everything. Or even Paramatma, for that matter, knows everything, that what we say, what we do. So in that way, we should be very fearful of these anarthas. And greed, for example. So we wanting more and more. Like there was one, I heard, dictator of Philippines. So they broke into his house and they saw his wife had almost 1,000 pairs of shoes. And what is it required for? Maharaj was explaining that if it is Virat Purusha, it would be easy to understand, okay, 1,000 legs, Sahasra Shirsha Purusha, Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. But he had only 2 feet, so maybe every step he has to wear one. Then it will be possible to wear everything. That's again greed. We have something, but we want more and more. We have some particular job, but we want something more better, though it is taking away our time for hearing. And then in the verse 37, it tells that we can purify our material aims by the hearing of nectarian topics of the Lord. So there are many shlokas in Srimad Bhagavatam. One of them is 3.6.37. I'll just share that. So basically that verse says that what is the purpose of the year? I'll just read out the translation. The highest perfectional gain of humanity is to engage in discussions of the activities and glories of the pious actor. Such activities are so nicely arranged in writing by the greatly learned sages that the actual purpose of the year is served just by being near them. So like this, many verses are there. Even the most famous Srinvatam Swakatha Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Rudyantasto hi abhadrani, vidunoti surutsatam, Nashta prayeshva abhadreshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So all of them tell the same thing, that when we hear Bhagavatam with attention, very attentively every day, then our polluted aim of material life, that aim of sense gratification, that gets purified. So in that way, material desires can go away far by hearing the glories of Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, he tells in Shikshastakam the same thing, that Cheto Darpana Marjana. As I told, hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam or holy name is again, both are purifying. So even in the NOI Prabhupada writes, fourth verse in the purport I was reading yesterday, that Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaya Uday. So nothing has to be bought out from outside. Already the Krishna Prema is there inside. We just have to awaken it. So for awakening, we need to hear and chant. Hearing and chanting is necessary. So Prabhupada immediately goes to holy name. So hearing and chanting, then you have to hear the holy name. So in this age, Lord has come as Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So when we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and hear it attentively, then the Cheto Darpana Marjanam, just like mirror, clear mirror when it is covered with dust. So we can't see anything there. We can't see ourselves also. So we just take a cloth and start wiping slowly. So the first layer, second layer, the dirt keeps on going. So when the dirt goes away completely, then we can clearly see ourselves. And in that way, the real aim of life, the self-realization, happens when we actually chant, and that purifies the heart. And then we can realize God as well. So when we realize Krishna, then we realize ourselves also. So in this purport, 37 purport, as we read, the difficulties in human society, why they are there. So by this modern technological advancement, are they actually increasing or they are decreasing? So Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj was hearing that he was telling that no, they are actually increasing. We may see, okay, we had some very small mobile, or sometime before that we just had one mobile for whole street or something. You have to stand in a queue and then to get just a mobile to talk to someone far. So now we have cell phone, we can keep in a pocket and just hear or call anyone and speak. So many advancements, so much of things are going on, but are the problems decreasing? So he told no, actually problems all over the world are increasing. Like he was giving example of small children getting diseases which we never heard before. Means only old people used to get such diseases that even small children are getting. So even I was working in the company, my team lead was there, and he suddenly went on leave, and it was almost a week or two. So I was just wondering, all the load is on me, what is this person, why he went? So whole work was on me. It was fully kind of all day and night I was working that time. So all those 2 weeks. Then later he told, or other team members, they told actually he had just got a baby, and that baby has diabetes, and she was in ICU. So that was I was really stunned. My God, even such small children can get such diseases, because we hear only BP, sugar, diabetes only for old people, right? So nowadays even the small children, they are having such diseases. So because the real solution is being forgotten, the real goal of life, the aim of life is being forgotten. And if you also think deeply, whatever the real necessities of human life, they are all produced by material nature. The necessities means not mobile phone, laptop. These are not necessities. The real necessity is food, air, water, sunlight. So these are the necessities. They are actually provided by material nature. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhavaha. Yajnat bhavanti bhutani yajna karma samudbhava. So basically it tells that when the anna, the food, how you get food, all the living entities, they subsist on food, right? So we are not in Satyaloka where Hiranyakashipu used to stay without food. That time the life air was in bones, it's told. So but now the life is in the food. So we all the living entities actually subsist on food, but that food comes from rain. So how the rain comes? It's told that in Bhagavad Gita, when the yajna is performed, the sacrifice is performed. So that during the reign of Vena, King Vena in Srimad Bhagavatam 4th canto, that section is going on every day Bhagavatam. If you see, there actually, because he was committing so many atrocious activities, that whole Mother Earth became so upset, she withheld all the resources. He didn't give any grains or jewels or whatever is required. All the necessities Earth actually stopped giving. Even now petrol rate is increasing. Why? Because there is no petrol. So even that is one of the resources. So all those things, they actually stopped. Then Prithu Maharaj came, and when he came, he told everyone to do hearing, hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord. So when we do these three things, then Mother Earth came back. Again, she gave all the resources. So she is compelled to give. So that's how when we perform yajna, the actual sacrifice, then we can actually get all the resources, necessities required for our sustenance. Then, we hear about Adav Shraddha. So, we are diseased now because we have so many material diseases, material desires. So, to get out of them, we need to go through the process. The Rupa Goswami tells, Adav Shraddha, we have to have faith that we will attain the life's goal. Then, with that faith, we go to Sadhu Sangha. So, we associate with devotees who have that goal. And when we associate, they tell us to do bhajana kriya. So perform devotional service by chanting, hearing, reading, remembering Supreme Lord. So this bhajana kriya when we do, then we get purified of all the material desires. That is anartha nivritti. Gradually that happens. So same thing Rupa Goswami is also telling what Shukdev Goswami is telling, that by remembering, by hearing about and glorifying the Supreme Lord, we get purified of all the material aims. And that's how Rupa Goswami is given this process, that by bhajana kriya we can go to anartha nivritti. Yes. And then Prabhupada told, when he established ISKCON, he did in hand written, he has written that, okay, everybody should hear Srimad Bhagavatam in the morning and then Bhagavad Gita in the evening. So actually recently we had gone to Sarjapur, His Holiness Bhakti Brad Bhagavat Swami Maharaj was giving class. And somebody asked about morning program. So we have we are married and then we have a small child. So how actually we can perform morning programs at our best? Then Maharaj was telling that Prabhupada, he just gave the example of Prabhupada. So when Prabhupada was there, so one couple came and they were asking that, actually they were very, very serious. They used to come morning program every day and attend and things like that. And they got a child. The Mataji was asking that, Prabhupada, I am not able to come to morning program, not able to do because child is there. Then Maharaj told, you have to do at least minimum two things. One is chant 16 rounds in the morning and hear Srimad Bhagavatam or read Srimad Bhagavatam. So that way these two things never compromise. So, and obviously child will grow and later we can again come back to the natural position. So that way the chanting of 16 rounds, so that is actually yajna, the sacrifice for this age. So even this Prabhupada or all the spiritual masters in ISKCON, they tell that the first instruction the Prabhupada gave is chant 16 rounds attentively in the morning. So basically when we chant 16 rounds attentively, then that, so if we don't do that, then whatever position we may be in, whatever services we may be doing, but still one may become a victim of Maya at any moment. So that's what Prabhupada said. So we should chant 16 rounds very attentively and hear also Srimad Bhagavatam attentively. And how we can hear attentively? So for that we should have thirst for it. Like recently one class Amarendra Prabhu was giving for youth forum like this in Pune. There he was telling that devotees usually ask how to develop taste in chanting or develop taste in hearing. So he was telling very nicely that it is like asking that there is a full chappan bhog kept in front of you and you are asking how to actually eat it. So means basically if one is hungry, he never asks that question. He will just complete whole chappan bhog, right? So but when one is not hungry, then such questions arise. So he is telling we don't have to worry about how we get taste, but we need to develop that eagerness, that thirst, that hunger for chanting, that hunger for hearing, because that's when we can actually do that activity with taste. So Lord will get pleased and He will give the taste. So we cannot achieve anything, but we can only depend on mercy of Krishna. So again, to develop that hunger or thirst, we need to associate with devotees who have that hunger, or who have that thirst, and we need to understand. And already we discussed about the fear. So how we are actually in precarious condition, that how anarthas are troubling us and things like that. So understanding the precarious situation, we can actually be thirsty for attaining Krishna. In that way, at least for the process of devotional service, we should be thirsty about. So that way we can develop taste for chanting. Then I was hearing again Gopal Krishna Goswami was telling that nowadays people, they actually, everyone wants to hear something or the other. Like for example, we can see mobile, everybody scrolling Facebook, Insta, or so many YouTube shorts, right? So many things are there nowadays to get distracted. So it's told in Bhagavatam itself that Shrotavyadini Rajendra Nrinam Santi Sahasrashaha Apashyatam Atma Tattvam Griheshu Griham. So for the materialists, they have thousands of topics to hear like that. So but for devotees, what should be the topic of hearing? The Nama, Rupa, Guna and Leela of the Supreme Lord. The holy name, the pastimes, the qualities and the form of the Supreme Lord. So these things we need to hear, keep hearing, and we should develop taste for hearing those things. That's what Maharaj is telling that. So, but instead if we do Prajalpa, then what happens? The result is, NI says, Atyahara Prayasascha Prajalpo Niyamagraha Janasangascha Laulyamcha Shadbir Bhaktir Vinashyati. So the result of doing Prajalpa is the bhakti gets destroyed. So if we don't want bhakti to be destroyed, then we need to hear about these topics. And somebody may say, okay, what is the use of hearing the same thing again and again, again and again? Same things Prabhupada writes everywhere, or already we know. So, but this Prabhupada comes from in Bhagavad Gita. He tells that repetition is necessary to drive the point home. So basically, the message will sit in our heart when we hear it again and again. For example, this verse was taken last time also in IYF class. I think Vipin Pro took 2.2.36. If somebody remembers, they may say, "Arey, same verse, again you are speaking about hearing." So, but that's what happens. When we hear it repeatedly, that message will sit in our heart, and that way we can practice it also. We can bring it to practice. So, because we hear that, yes, we should not do Prajalpa, but we should hear about the Supreme Lord, but still we are not able to do. So, but by repeated hearing, that we will be able to do that. So, that's by the mercy of Prabhupada. Then again about Prabhupada only we can see, somebody asked Prabhupada, one of his disciples, Prabhupada, how you have so much enthusiasm to preach, that in this age you are going everywhere and preaching so much, so how you have so much enthusiasm? Then Prabhupada actually replied that I used to hear with great attention. So that's what Prabhupada replied. So we can see, he was telling that many sannyasis and many sannyasis used to sit in the class of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and they used to give some excuse and they get up and go away. But Prabhupada, till the end of the class, he was sitting and he was hearing very attentively. Even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur actually told that this boy, he hears very nicely, so he will preach very nicely in the future. So that's how that hearing becomes the basis even of our preaching. So it's told in this verse that one has to hear about, glorify and remember the Supreme Lord always and everywhere. So that means whatever position we may be in. So even we may be going out for preaching, we may be going out for book distribution. So even during that time, we can utilize this time in hearing about, glorifying and remembering the Supreme Lord. So that will actually give us enthusiasm, and that will give us the drive, the force to go out and preach also. And all space and all time is Krishna's, right? So that means that's how we can utilize all space everywhere and all time, always in Krishna service, just by glorifying, remembering and hearing about Krishna. And yes, Maharaj was telling about devotees' taste is to hear Lord's holy name. So again, he also came to the point of chanting that Lord has come and he has put his full potency in the holy name. So that potency actually is there, but we have to also chant with that full energy to actually receive that mercy, to actually understand that potency, the whole Lord has come in the holy name. So So, but materialists, they can't understand that yes, Lord is not different than His holy name, or yes, by chanting day and night also you may not get tired. They say, Arey, you don't get bored, you're chanting same mantra again and again, so you don't get bored. Then they also say, actually, because of chanting this again and again, your Swami has brainwashed you. Your Swami has hypnotized you. So because you are doing it again and again, so you got habituated to it. Then actually Maharaj was telling that actually they are brainwashing people. So many billboards, television, movies, cinema. So all that, so much money they are spending just to make the living entity forget Krishna. So but we are not spending anything. So it is natural to every living entity to remember Krishna. So that way it is actually not hypnotism or brainwashing, it's natural position that we having. And also he was telling about Haridas Thakur, how he was also chanting all the time. So 3 lakh names a day. And while chanting also, he was not taking anything till the time he completes his rounds. And that way, even while and also he didn't have any tiredness. So that he just gave that example saying how when devotees stand, they also don't get tired. And we hear that how by hearing, glorifying, remembering Lord, we don't get contaminated by material nature. So that is, the example is given of a glass filled with water. So when the glass is completely filled with water up to the brim, then even if you want to put a single drop of water, it will overflow. Right? So like that, when we are also filled with Krishna in so many ways, like hearing, by chanting, by glorifying, by remembering Supreme Lord, when you are filled up to the brim, then again, so there is no overflow. Basically, the material contamination cannot enter into the heart. So that's how we should always be doing. Prabhupada many places writes in purports that devotees have to be engaged 24 hours in Krishna service. Recently, I think Sundar Prabhu, somebody was telling that even 20 minutes, if you want to take a break, then you can be attacked by Maya. So that material contamination can enter in even in such small time, in the almost 24 hours. So we should always be eager to engage in devotional service. So keep our glass filled, then material thoughts will not enter. So, and one more thing is about, we were discussing about hearing and how to hear attentively, how it is so necessary to hear attentively every day, and that will purify our heart. And that hearing happens by our hunger or thirst to hear it, and that comes by knowing our precarious condition and associating with those devotees who have that taste for hearing, who are always eager to hear, who are very serious in Krishna consciousness. So if you associate with people who are doing prajalpa or etc., so many things here and there, so we also, obviously that nature is already there in us, that we also want to hear something what happened there, what happened here. But if we give into it, then the hearing doesn't happen. So we should associate with those people who are very, very serious, again, to hear about, glorify, remember Supreme Lord always and everywhere. So that way we can progress in devotional service. So I think we will pause it here. Thank you very much. So if any devotees have any comments, so, and if I have said something out of my adhikar, so you can please forgive me. Yes, mic is there.
Really, how can we avoid pressure?
So, Prajalpa means we need to understand what is Prajalpa. Basically, the topics which are not helpful in our Krishna consciousness. Sometimes devotees may speak something outside, but which may help in Krishna consciousness, in the preaching of Krishna consciousness. So, but that can be done again by the senior mature devotees. But in our case, it's better to always directly hear about Krishna conscious topics. And so, how to avoid Prajalpa? Just be with devotees, those who don't like Prajalpa. That is simple way you can avoid Prajalpa. Correct? No? So then they'll not speak, they'll not like to hear also. Then you don't have opportunity to hear or speak Prajalpa also. So you will obviously, seeing him only, you will feel like, oh, I should speak something Krishna conscious. So, or I should ask something from him about Krishna consciousness. So that is very easy way that we can avoid Prajalpa. Okay? Yes. Yes.
Sometimes if it's difficult to stop doing Prajalpa, is it better to be silent and not talk anything?
So basically Prabhupada said the silence is for those who actually basically, like he was telling, if you're speaking so much nonsense, better to keep silent. So, but if you have so much to speak about Krishna, you speak, glorify Krishna. So that is good. But as you're telling, if the situation is not that way, then yes, you can be silent and remember Krishna in your heart. So that is fine. You can chant the holy name inside. Yes.
Hare Krishna. No, my question is like I get desire to see news sometimes, so that I can understand the temporary nature of material world and then engage myself in Krishna consciousness. So is that Prajalpa or it's okay?
So Radhesham Prabhu was telling that he also, as a preacher, he needs to know what is going on in the outside world. So for our own personal Krishna consciousness, it's not required. Already so much miseries are there. So that itself is sufficient. So just to engage ourselves in Krishna consciousness very seriously. But for preaching purpose, we may have to know. So Prabhuji was telling, he tells somebody else to actually make some headlines or something. He'll just take that within 15 days once or something, 1 month once. So he'll just go through that whatever PDF and then he'll understand. So that is sufficient for preaching, he says. So otherwise, ourselves going out and completely reading whole newspaper or seeing the news for 1 hour, 2 hours, that will actually contaminate our consciousness. Because what is shown there is nothing related to Krishna. So if it is not related to Krishna, that is obviously taking us away from Krishna. So that way it is contaminating. So we don't have to do it just to get inspiration in bhakti, to perform very seriously, seeing so much misery is there in the outside world. So that we can hear from scriptures only. Already it is written, whatever there is in the news is in the scriptures in principle. So just by reading scriptures every day, we can actually be very enthusiastic in performance devotional service. We can develop such fear about material nature just by reading scriptures that we run towards the shelter of Krishna. We run towards the beads to chant holy name, take shelter of Krishna. So we don't have to go to news just to become fearful of miseries and then practice Krishna consciousness. Hand here, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Let's thank our Aravindaiah for so nicely making us understand the importance of Prajalpa and clearing the scriptures very nicely for that. Took out his precious time to make us aware of all this very crucial in such simple terms and so many personal examples also. Let's chant one time Hare Krishna Mantra, thanking our Aravindaiah. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Please can proceed for the ceremony. Hare Krishna.
waiting to hear from you how to avoid the symptoms.
Prabhu.